Okay, now the spine line, which is also called the headline, reveals the health of your spine. And it'll show if you have problems with vertebrae or discs in your back. It will show if they are subluxated. And what this means is they're turned out of place or they could be damaged, or you could have a condition such as scoliosis or a twisting of the spine. It starts right there between the thumb and index finger, or the Jupiter finger, and travels across the palm just under the Mercury finger. Now pull up your spine chart. It's called the Chart of Effects of Spinal Misalignment, and that section underneath the index finger, if you're on your spine line underneath the Jupiter finger, that represents your cervical spine, kind of that neck area, that 1C to 7C, and it goes down to what's called the Dowager's Hump. This is the hump that you see in older folks when they're walking around and they're kind of bent over there at the neck, just under the bottom of the neck and the top of the back. That's where your cervical spine is. Then the area just underneath that Saturn or that middle finger is your thoracic spine. This is your 1T down to your 12T. That's the back that goes all the way down to your waist. Then there's that area underneath the sun finger or the ring finger, and that's your lumbar area. This is 1L to 5L. This is kind of your waist and your hips. Then of course you go down to your sacrum and your coccyx to the tailbone, which is underneath that little or that Mercury finger. Let me tell you a little bit about Kat has a master's degree in health education, and when she was going to college she was developing her craft in hand analysis, and she came across a book from a longtime doctor, Dr. Eugene Scheinman, and he talked about how your spinal health absolutely shows in your hands, and working with Kat over the years it's proven to be very real and accurate. And I always get a little chuckle when I hear back on some of the past clients that have taken their charts to their chiropractor or their physical therapist and having an evaluation, and the medical care provider was amazed how spot on the charts were. Okay, let's look at your chart. If you look over there on the left hand side of your chart, you'll see an image of a spine, and you can see where Kat circled some of the vertebrae. And if you look in the very top part of that spine, you'll see that 1C down through the 5C. That's kind of the top down almost to the bottom of your neck. Looks like you've got some issues there with the vertebrae, whether they're out of alignment. Let's see, you didn't say anything in your information if you had damage there or not, but they're definitely turned out of place. Then that 1T, 2T area also, looks like there's a little issue with that. That's right at kind of the top of your shoulders. Then the 10T, 11T, 1L, 2L, those are your lumbar area, and then the 3L and 4L also. And if you look over to the right, you'll see the areas. That kind of shows the parts of the body that are affected when those are turned out of place or misaligned, or even when they have damage to them also. And of course the effects all the way over to the right indicate what kind of symptoms happen when those are turned out of place. Now I know we talked a little bit about depression in that headline. Boy, when that 1C is turned out of place, that can really be a contributing factor for depression. And then you can look down there on that 2T also, when we looked in the heart line, where we'd seen a little bit of heart stress, it's probably emanating from that 2T being out of place. And that can contribute to anxiety also. So you can kind of look up and down that chart there and see what symptoms are in that effects line and see how those apply to you. And I'll tell you when we see this, what we usually suggest is to get into a good chiropractor or even a good physical therapist and see if they can't get you realigned in that spinal column, and especially where you're at that 1C, 2C. You want to find somebody that knows craniosacral work, and they'll go into the roof of your mouth and they'll kind of manipulate those top plates, because you have a lot of nerve endings that end there, and it helps them get into that 1C, 2C and get that adjusted a little bit better. We find a lot of times that when people get those realigned, that they just have a lot more energy, a lot more ambition, and they just feel a lot better during the day. So that's something to consider. And I've seen many of Kat's clients and people she's done readings for, they'll take these charts down and show it to their doctors, and it's kind of a funny story how people will come back and their doctors are just amazed how accurate these spine charts are. Now you also have a health line that correlates with the head and spine line, and this line represents your general health. It starts at the bottom kind of center of the palm, and it rises up towards that Mercury or that little finger, and it stops at the head and spine line. And it should be a nice straight line without breaks or islands. This shows the health of your gut, like your stomach, your intestines, gallbladder, and the internal organs, and really more specifically your digestive system. If that line looks healthy, your general health is usually pretty good. Now as we take a look at that health line, your health line actually goes pretty straight up there towards that Mercury finger. But you can see where it kind of gets a little bit jittery there, kind of breaks and has a double line. That indicates a little bit of stress on those internal organs, on that digestive system. But I think that once you get in there and get that spine straightened out, get everything aligned and working good there, we find a lot of times that these lines clean up really good.